Greetings, fellow traders. Hope everybody had a great trading day today. Let me get this tweeted out here and make sure everybody's can get tuned in. So good stuff. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, so hope everybody had a great trading day today. Wow, what a day, right? Up 20 points on the SPX. So basically, we were looking yesterday at a kind of almost a doji month, and then back to spinning top stuff. So far, green taking the prior green month up, and inside week so far on the weekly SPX, we have a hammer day on the daily, which took the inside day up, right? So still contained within this original bar, this Friday bar last week, but really working its way up into that range. So futures down a little bit right now. There's some news after hours about the DOJ going after a lot of the FANG stocks, like basically for whatever stuff they're going after for, right? So anyway, it ended up Amazon's down 20 points after hours, a little bit of painful there. Apple's only down about a little less than a point, so it's holding in there pretty well. Netflix, already pretty well beat up, is down 2 points. Nvidia is actually up, so Texas Instruments had some really good news tonight on their earnings report. So Nvidia's is up, AMD was up a little bit, but it's about flat right now. We'll see. It could get some momentum in the morning, especially if they start buying the dip pre-market. So that's looking really interesting. Google's down about 10 points ish or so. So some pretty interesting stuff, kind of with that. So we'll see what that brings for tomorrow, just to shake things up a little bit. We've got a lot of earnings on the docket. Boeing, Caterpillar, so lots of Dow stuff kind of happening in the future. And actually, Dow futures are actually green right now. Let's take a look at the price action here from today, so you can kind of see, some of the things that we're looking at. These are the levels that we tweet out to in the private Twitter feed for our subscribers. Right, these are floor pivot levels, and we also kind of do updates during the day. We have a live stream in the morning and at the close, and these are just kind of things that happen, right? So you can see on the SPX we gapped. We gapped up pretty nicely this morning, and then faded pretty quickly, right? So we faded, but didn't fade, to the closing gap, but we did fade to close the gap on the daily. So that was your inside level, right there, right? So it tested once, twice on the inside day, and then it was that sort of the W bottom right here. You can kind of see the trend lines, right? The W bottom finally broke to the upside, right? And around this time, there was some news about contingency going to China, right? And for whatever reason, that even though I think the news was out a little bit earlier than that, that was enough catalyst to get the algos going, and they certainly pushed it through the R2 level and worked its way all the way up to R3 by the end of the day. So pretty good stuff there. Let's take a look here at the daily chart. So here you can see on the daily, nice move up today. We really kind of put in this pivot right here. The one thing that is a little bit concerning is this sort of looks like a possible head and shoulders in the work. So if it does pull back, on earnings, whatever the case is, that could be a sideways head and shoulders, which could bring that push down to start filling those gaps down there, and kind of come into the support zone a little bit. So we'll keep an eye out for that, definitely. So pretty interesting stuff in the markets. Lots of interesting news. Lots of stuff that we're tracking too. So basically looking forward to tomorrow and kind of seeing what those results are. So we have, so today, I just wanted to talk about Intel a little bit because I thought it was really interesting, and we shared this in the, with the Positive Trend subscribers, but I kind of wanted to just let everybody kind of see this. It's really important here. So kind of the move that recently happened on Intel. So Intel has had, I just tweeted out the secrets to trend lines in less than 3 minutes, and so that's a really key kind of video. So if you guys get a chance, if you haven't seen it yet, kind of go back and check that out. If you're new here, definitely check out the YouTube's channel. There's a playlist. We got a lot of great content by playlist, and one is the less than 3 minute series, and that 3 minute series is really great. It talks about some kind of key technical items that you can use, to improve your day trading, right? So anyway, so here we can kind of see, this is kind of the recent pivot low, and then anything before that would have been right here, right? So here's kind of the downward trend line that Intel had. It had a big move down after a kind of a meteoric rise up, and then since then it's really it gave us that kind of key reversal zone right down here, right? So it had a minor pivot high, and then kind of chopped around there, and when it finally broke through that level here after this inside day, it started to work its way up, right? Of course in waves, right? Nothing in a straight line necessarily, but kind of gave a wave up. So the trend has been up, and what was really interesting is we got into the cloud here. here, right? So, we always look for, where's the trend where could the trend change? And it started to get a little bit steep here, and you can see we drew this trend line here to the upside, and this started to break down through this bar here, and we're inside the cloud. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm actually going to remove the cloud right here so you can see these candlesticks a little bit better. So here, this is where we were kind of moving up here. Okay, so Intel is starting to move, make a nice move up. And really what this line is here, if you guys remember the bump and run chart pattern, we see this a lot with trend lines, right? So we have this kind of regular 30-degree type line, and then we get this spike, right, a 60-degree line. And so that is a bump and run. It's a reversal pattern. And here you can see this is very interesting. So what it did is it put in an evening star pattern up here as well. And so what that is you have a big green bar, and then you have a bar above it. Red would be nice, but still either way, it's the real body was above the real body of this bar, right, after a gap up. And then the next day you have a red bar that pushes down and reclaims 50% of the range or more of the first bar, right, bar 1. So bar 3, right, 50% of bar 1, right? Okay, so that's kind of that's the setup, right? And so this is a really high probability play to go down. So there's actually 2 plays in one, right? You have the upward trend line right here breaking down, right? This is your breakdown bar. And then so what we look for is we look for a break below this low, right? This, what was it? 48.96. So we look for that as a minor pivot low, potential breakdown point. And that could trigger the bump and run. So what we would assume is that this breaks to the downside. Now the probability of an evening star setup, reversal setup working out is like 69% to get continuation to the downside. So it's very, very high probability trade to see this go down. So this kind of leads us to what we're talking about today, and how to catch a winner, right? So is the winner to the downside? We don't know yet. So let's take a look at the next bar right here. So we kind of trail here. So what did it do? It did not follow. It did not have continuation to the downside. In fact, it gapped up. I know it's a red bar, but this is a bullish move, right? Because we closed down here, right? And for Intel, it's still a pretty big move, $49 stock, so from basically 49, 15-ish to 49.50. So it was a nice gap up that it had, and then so basically it's saying that the sentiment is still up by doing that, right? So and then it gave you an inside day. Okay, so now this is kind of key. Let's look at the next bar right here. So the next bar actually tried to break down and failed, and so this was the key signal, right? So we look for a breakdown through this minor pivot, but we want to at least see some sort of closing or some sort of weight to that, right? And so it's tried to break down. Even if you got long here, right, you still could have, or it got short here, you could have kept a tight stop on that just to make sure that it kind of gave that downward movement, right? So, but it came up really quickly, guys, and that's what happens sometimes. And let's take a look at what happened too. Where did we open? So we opened down a little bit on this bar, and so what it did, it tried to push down and failed, right? And so and then it came back up, right, off of an inside bar. And then it reclaimed the entire inside bar range with a strong green, really bullish engulfing bar, right, because the real body is engulfing this real body, right? And then the high and low are engulfing the high and low of the bar as well, right? So what this is really showing is that this morning star or evening star setup, right, was a fail, okay? And that's really the signal. So we could look here, is this a potential breakdown, right? But a failed breakdown. But is this inside bar here that starts to get it kind of a little bit curious, okay? Because like we gapped up when this thing was really supposed to be bearish, okay? And then this bar right here was finally the signal, okay? So this is really kind of a key element of trading, right? So we look at patterns, we look at setups, and we expect things to work, right? We expect things to go a certain way, and then what we need to be able to do as traders is identify when they don't work, right? And ask ourselves, is there something significant going on here? Is this a failed pattern? At which point, what are the options, right? The only other options is, okay, it failed and it's going to chop, right? Or it failed and it's going to go the other way, right? And so more than likely, being is that the trend is still up, that the trend would continue up. Okay, so this was just a one reversal pattern with a combination of a potential bump and run that never got the follow through. Okay, so let's kind of see what happened from there. Then from there, nice move up, right here. Nice move up again. Really, really strong for Intel, right? So and this is yesterday. This is a big bar yesterday. And what I want to show here, let me actually put the cloud back on now. Give me 1 second. Studies, edit studies, Ichi for Ichimoku, apply. Okay, so there we are. So now look what happened. Look what else is significant. Okay, so now not only did this pattern fail, but it's breaking out, and it's also breaking out of the cloud here too. There's a very significant breakout point. Now, granted, it's over the upper Bollinger Band. RSI is overbought, but that's just a another potential move. And then look what happened here. Got another move up today with a big gap. So that kind of really, now is this going to be a hanging man at this point? Now maybe we are again over the upper Bollinger Band. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be up a little bit after hours too on the Texas Instrument News, right? So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on to see, for a potential reversal. Look for another trend line breakdown. But at this point, it just kind of shows you that we can look and we can anticipate potential moves, but we also have to look for when those moves are invalidated, right? Now, if it had broken smoothly down the next day out of this this evening star setup and kind of come back a little bit, maybe 50% of that range, we might have seen more of a move down. But the fact that it gapped up over it is kind of that first signal saying like, hey, maybe this isn't as bearish as we thought, right? Then they try to get it there. But anyway, so kind of big move there, and that is where we are at today. So it'll be really interesting. And then it got the that extra news. The reason it gapped up today was Apple buying some of their chips for their phones, and it just kind of continued that bullish pattern, right? So the trend was still up until proven otherwise, and they failed to prove it to the downside. And now we see that it gave a nice continuation move. So that's how to catch a move, right? And that's how to catch a move by looking for setups. Certainly for a reversal pattern, right, and then seeing that it failed, and then recognizing that that was a failed reversal pattern, and then continuing with the trend. And so just wanted to point that out. I thought it was a really cool kind of setup that kind of transformed. And a lot of times too, what we can see, and this is very high risk type strategy stuff. But if we let's say you're short right here, right, and you catch yourself, right, that it failed, right. A lot of times if we can identify that the trade was wrong, a lot of times we can. Let's say we did try to short here. What we can do is we can recognize that we were wrong, and then look to trade the other direction, and possibly with a as long as it's within our risk tolerance and within our trading plan, can look to add more than we would have done short, because we have proven to ourselves that the trade was wrong. And then oftentimes you can make more money that way by having it right. So getting more profit out of that by say you had this hypothetically, let's say you had 10 puts here, right? Slightly failed, you had a tight stop on it, didn't work, and then you was proven wrong, then you go 20 right to the upside. That's kind of an idea, or 1 to 2 or whatever the case is, right? So just kind of a really good way to identify if you have a really supposed to be a strong pattern and even a combination pattern. If they don't work, then chances are it's probably going to go the other way, right? And then really truly it's identifying that the trend was still up, right? So we look to catch a reversal potentially, right? But the idea is that it was still counter trend, and the trend was still up, and we can see what it did there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for this evening. So I hope you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. Maybe before 10:30, so we can all get a good night's sleep and get some good healthy trading in tomorrow. So good stuff. Landon, what's going on? Good to see you. Enjoy Life Apparel. Hello. Anil Kumar, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Tech startups are down today. Any reason? Like Twilio, Now, MDB, etc. So today was it was kind of a big move for, kind of the bigger names like Apple. It was up a point. We have a lot of earnings coming this week too, so there's a lot of that stuff, kind of happening. I didn't hear any other real news in that area, but let's see, TWLO. Let's just take a look. It's a good point. I mean, there were some pullbacks today, and a lot of these ones that are a little bit smaller, right? Aren't necessarily indexed with some of the other big ones, right? So sometimes they kind of trade a little bit independently. So there's a couple signals there too. We did have a topping tail on Twilio off of the upper Bollinger Band, which kind of moved down a little bit. It's actually below the fib fan line and the pitchfork too. So kind of a little ominous there. Earnings aren't till next week, so that is something to look at there. Now. I mean, not a horrible, actually, it's still being held, but yeah, I mean, I see that it was a red day, of course, but it did have the inside day, kind of stayed within that range again by the close, and then failed to break down, right? It tried to break down and kind of came back in and held the mid Bollinger Band, so that does give it, maybe some hope there on that one. MDB, etc. Exactly. So MDB, let's kind of see how it did today. Yeah, kind of a rough day there too. So. And this one looks like it had earnings back here. It doesn't have earnings until a while. So it is really interesting to kind of see this. So, while the rest of tech was kind of going up. So I don't know if it was like a kind of a preview to some of the the move. Maybe it was kind of like a leading indicator to the kind of the down move after hours today. But we'll see. So it might just be a pullback, right? So that's definitely something to keep an eye on too. Yeah, I know, ruthless. What's up, Callsall? Harvey, how's it going? Good to see you. Paul, what's going on? Nudie Poo. Snap. Let's take a look. So Snap's been going crazy, guys. It's been getting upgrades and downgrades and all over the place. They're downgrading, they're upgrading. So anyway, here's your downward trend line, right? Basically today's move, is the breakout bar. So we'd look for a move over today's high, and then let's kind of take a look and see what happened after hours here for earnings. Why am I way down there? So here we are. It looks like earnings were pretty good. So they lost less money. So that was good news, and it is up 2 points, which is a pretty big deal for Snap. So definitely something for us to keep an eye on. Tomorrow, possible 15 orbs. So I mean, it is increasing in price, right? So the higher it gets, the more liquid it gets, and hopefully the more tradable the options get, right? So that's always fun. So we'll see what that does. That puts us up to 16, maybe 16 and a quarter. Let me see what the level 2 looks like here. You have about 16 and a quarter. So that takes us to that recent pivot high. So that's at 16.24, and that looks like a pretty long time recent high. At least over the past couple of years. So the idea is this was kind of a shorting opportunity here with some potential stops over this pivot. If we gap over this pivot tomorrow, we might see a gap and go, right? We might see a short squeeze. So that could be really interesting for us to look at tomorrow. We'll see how well that gaps up. Definitely should be on the radar. Brad PG, what's happening? Julian, buenos amigos. How are you? Good to see you. Heather, good evening. Sarah, good evening. Prayer Kid, what's up? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Hey, pals, what's going on? Hitman, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you jumping on. Jay, hello. Session, Diz, Lulu, Roku. Let's take a look. So Diz. Okay, so Disney had such a strong open, guys, and then it still finished up 42 cents, so you can't complain with that. But it's always nice to see these things. I got to rip at the you just kind of wish they'd go forever. But yeah, inside day, right, kind of pushed down a little bit, after a nice gap up this morning, kind of pushed down, but reclaimed really well, so you have to kind of look at it that way. So basically a push over today's high in the future. Could give it a little bit of an earnings run potential up to the fib fan line there. So we'll see if that can actually kind of give that follow through. So I know lots of red candles here on Disney. It's but again, it's kind of being Disney. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. I think we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can get a good catalyst there out of earnings. You have to imagine they'd be good. I mean, all their movies this year have been just blockbuster record breakers. So you have to imagine their earnings are gonna be pretty good. So maybe it'll kind of drift down until earnings and then give a stellar report. So we'll see. Lulu. Gosh, it is just chopping around up here, right? Here's this ascending triangle. You can see these pink lines coming up here. It had a double inside day, a couple days ago, about a week ago, and then tried to break down, failed, right? But then couldn't get over that high. So that is continuing just to be that ascending triangle. So we'll see here if it can get any momentum and start to work its way up. If it could break out of these levels and get over that 191.44, then we could see like a little bit of a pop out of that. The cloud looks good too, by the way. You can kind of see it's all kind of curving up here for the future. So that could give some potential there. So that's looking good. And then Roku. So Roku may actually be on the kind of the short radar for tomorrow. Looking a little bit weak here, a lot weak, right? So somebody actually in the live stream, she's been doing great, just kind of like finding these. Was actually in the private Twitter, but pointing at stocks that have made a really big move, and then continue to move. So today was kind of one of those ranges. I mean, it had like a 7-point range today on Roku. So big move on that. Bearish engulfing, right? So the real body is containing this real body here and the high and lower, engulfing the high and low of the prior, right? So that it really has some bearish implications here, excuse me. It did kind of bounce off a little bit off of this level, off this key bounce point here. So if it does get below today's lows, we could retest kind of this 100 area at the mid Bollinger Band if it really wanted to Roku could come down and touch the cloud, right? So in the near term, so that's looking a little bit scary on or sketchy on Roku, right? But you can kind of see here just the price action today. I mean, 30-minute, the first 30-minute bar will give you the shooting star, right? And then continue down, and then give you this inside bar under today's under kind of a key level, this kind of 15 orbish level from prior, and then that broke down right to this basically this prior 60 anchor level, right? So a lot of price discovery going on in these areas, but huge move down, especially if that 30-minute bar was key at the event. Obviously, the 60-minute bar was key too, and got move as well. So, but really nice kind of shooting star there off of the 30-minute chart. So yeah, inside week though still. So we'll see if that gets any follow through into the week to come. So NetFry, what's happening? Pepsi. So yeah, so nice job on Coke today. One of your favorites, and Pepsi, also a fave. So Pepsi being Pepsi with these long shadows, which are so annoying. Here's a big spinning top, long shadow, right? Long shadow, but in general, right? I mean, the move has been, a bunch of red bars here. So here's your low. It's kind of your, yep, that would be your bar right there. So try to break out today. Failed. So again, it's at the cloud at this point. So let's look tomorrow and see what it does. If we can kind of give you maybe an inside day, right, and then we'll use this high, today's high as a potential breakout point to at least test, maybe this 133 area and try to work its way up to the pitchfork. So definitely one to keep on the radar. In fact, that's worth an alert, I think, just to see if it crosses above that in the near future. Nice one. Prayer Kid, long Intel, nice, up to 5250. That is what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's take a look. So good. So you were all over this, and I'm not surprised. So yeah, so this is going up. Let's kind of look at the would you say 5250? Yeah, well, it's up to 5193. So it could get a little bit of move there. Let's see where you're at. I'm sure you have a yeah, 5311 is kind of right here, 52 area. Then I'm sure you have your Fibonacci kind of zones too, so nice on that. Let's see. So MG missed the pop on Zoom today. Yeah, so Zoom, guys, we kind of talked. I think I touched on this yesterday. Yeah, but nice pop. Zoom is really it's a hot stock to trade. Honestly, it can really move and and do great. So, but let's just take a look here. So yesterday we talked about this a little bit. Had a 60 anchor yesterday right here. This inside 60 anchor bar. We gapped up. We tested that 60 anchor range and then it launched from there. Right, keeping inside 60 and then continued up. Tried to get through the cloud and failed. Right. And then so kind of interesting today. So these levels are key, right? So we gapped up again today, and so that actually subscribers liked that one. So a nice gap and push, and then but it reclaimed really quickly, right? So it came, but look where it went to. It went right to that 60 anchor range again. So those are kind of key price discovery levels, and then it came back in, the nice reversal off of that, real quick reversal inside 60, and then tried to move again. They gave you a couple of hammers up into the close. So, but yeah, so it is if you can catch a reversal on this thing, it is pretty strong. So MGUAA, please, my pleasure. Let's pull it up here. UAA, so Under Armour, wow, big move today. So, gave you this kind of reversal hammer bar right here, and then right as it broke over that VWAP, gave a move, what's that, from 2683 all the way to 2725. So that's a big move for Under Armour there. Let's take a look here and see. Yeah, so nice hammer day, right? Kind of pushed to new lows and gave you a nice, bottom wick. Now let's see if we can get some continuation. So kind of a big hammer here, so I mean, here's like one where it had a hammer and then kind of give an inside day and then went, right? So just give it, kind of evaluate tomorrow's price action, a potential break over, today's high could get some movement, but you can see what it likes to do. It likes to, when it makes these hammers, it likes to, kind of put a couple in, right? Sometimes it's never that obvious, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. But this hammer right here was pretty good. I lost it. Upside to touch the upper Bollinger Band. This didn't quite test the mid Bollinger Band, but we'll see. We'll see if it gets some movement to the upside. Earnings coming up too, so you might get a little run on that. And then Cron. So wow, so big bar today. Yeah, this kind of was a huge reversal day right here. Then it chopped around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and then finally got over the mid Bollinger Band today. So with that kind of strength, I think there is some potential. So it might consolidate for a little bit. The cloud is getting a little bit thin here on the daily, which does mean there could be some moves, ahead. I mean, it might be a reversal signal, but if it gets strong, it can get through this cloud. I think it could potentially hold that as support and then work its way up to that fib fan line there. So it's a nice day on Cron today. So per kid, you also have Apple up to 215. Nice. Yeah, so Apple's got earnings coming up pretty soon, and yeah, 215 is probably a good level for Apple. Big bar today at the upper Bollinger Band, a little bit overbought. Again, it's a little bit down after hours on this news, but it's holding up nicely. It seems to be compressing too, so probably some sort of TTM squeeze going on as well. And then if that gets released, you've got that 216, 215 level like right here, and that is a little bit above, a little bit below the pitchfork level. But yeah, I can certainly get to those levels. And let's see, and then you got Facebook 215, nice. It's amazing how some of these are priced similarly. So, Dennis, how's it going? So we just looked at Pepsi, but let's take a look at Coke. And hopefully you had an opportunity to maybe go through that on demand or just kind of check some back testing on that short stuff. But Coke, huge day today, guys. This is a breakaway gap, right? So I mean, it just had a gap down kind of recently, worked its way back up, and today was just a signal saying like, hey, I am super bullish. I'm gonna hold. So a breakout over today's high could actually give a little bit of a push, which sometimes happens on the day after a gap. But in the meantime, it might kind of consolidate for a while and then kind of work its way up eventually, right? So you can kind of see it likes to give this a little kind of up and down movement and then eventually push. So we'll see if it has some continued momentum into tomorrow. But this is a good safety stock too for investors. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a pullback, that this would be a good one to look at for some more upside potential. So, and then Tesla, yeah. So Tesla earnings tomorrow after the close, so that to 280. Yeah, I could definitely see that as a possibility. So, Muammar, how's it going? RTM and DE, yeah. So Raytheon, let's see. Earnings coming up the 25th. So big move so far. Right, so we had this last time we looked at this. We had this upward trend line, kind of tried to break down a little bit. Here's your minor pivot area, broke down actually pretty nicely for a decent short. Came back in, held the mid Bollinger Band, and is working its way up again. And so let's kind of see. Let's draw a new trend line here. Okay, so bullish still proving otherwise, right? So it's basically in this kind of parabolic channel almost. So it's over it tried to get over the cloud, kind of failed. So just maybe tomorrow, might pause, and then we'll see what it does for earnings, right? So just be careful. It's pretty steep right here, and it can move if it wants to, right? And then DE. So pretty interesting stuff right here. Actually, a big cup and handle pattern working, right? So it kind of gave that handle, tried false breakout right there, and then it started to break out today. So actually, this is very, very bullish. The trend is up, right? So just following this trend line, right? And starting to look pretty strong here. So honestly, like any signals on this, in fact, I'm going to put a if like Boeing has good numbers and Cat has good numbers, tomorrow, this week, this could definitely be on the radar for a long. So I'm going to add that to the game plan for tomorrow. So that looks good. So we'll look for bullish setups inside 60s over the VWAP, something like that to give a nice break. It looks like it might even be kind of squeezing here a little bit. The Bollinger Bands are really compressed, so that looks pretty neat right there. Nice chart. Trina, what's going on? NVIDIA. Let's take a look. So NVIDIA, I believe, is up after hours. Yep, it's up about almost 3 points after hours, which is pretty awesome. NVIDIA has really been had a nice new trend that it started, right? It was downtrending for a while. You can kind of see this, just from up here. You can see this low here, right? We got a couple kind of bump and run type stuff, right? But so you can kind of see couple breakout points that we saw. We recently caught this. This is a trade of the week idea for newsletter subscribers. It kind of broke out, got through the cloud, right, and it's still working its way up. And in fact, it put in a new high today. So let's activate this. There's your high. There's your recent pivot low. So the trend is definitely up until proven otherwise. So nice breakout of the cloud. It could continue to run into earnings very potentially, but just kind of watch your trend line. Make sure it doesn't break down out of it to kind of test the cloud or the pitchfork, that type of thing. So yeah, nice recent trend on NVIDIA. Jonah, what's happening? Good to see you. Muammer, let's see. So love your videos, very educational. You're true expert. Oh, thanks. Keep the work that you do. Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's fun. It's fun to do. So, I think the more we learn and the more we get educated about the markets, just the better off we are, as traders, right? So it's it's important to look at it every day and to study and to continue to improve. So I try to do that and encourage others to do it too. So, Perky bought some puts today on BNDY. Closed out 60% gain. Congratulations. We're expecting a bounce at 191, reaches to 188. If it fails to break higher, we can see a deeper pullback to 188. So BNDY. I feel like you mean BYND. Because the numbers seem to match. Yeah, so good job on that. So yeah, so nice pullback today. Great job on making those gains. What a move though beyond has had, right? Over these last couple of days, he had this triangle move, then kind of got over that, right? Some volumetric levels inside day, failed to break down and then move. This was a key reversal bar right there, right? So kind of zoom in there. So we had an inside bar, right? This one low 168.11, low 167.81. So it failed to break to the downside, right? It also had a double inside day here, by the way, which broke out. But you can see these double inside days often lead to more movement, right? Even in the future, right? I've seen this happen before. Costco, a bunch of other stocks too that put these in sometimes can give some big moves afterward. Anyway, that failed breakdown bar was here, so then a breakdown here gave a breakout here off of this bar, gave that nice move up. And like you said, kind of came up to some key levels right here, volumetric zones, and then bounced off of that. So yeah, there's definitely some downside potential as well. So, but yeah, nice bounce catch too. Paul SQ. Let's take a look. So SQ has been very interesting. Let's see. So this is a long-term trend line up, right? Kind of from this base here. I don't know why it always shifts around like that. You look at one chart, I guess, goes to another. But kind of going through here through these pivot points based off of this high. And so I can actually adjust this here a little bit. Activate. Right, there's your high. There's your most recent pivot right there. I don't know why it shifts like that. But anyway, so today was the first chance of a breakdown, right? So does this serve as a hanging man, and a breakdown below today's low could see a push lower, and definitely could see the return to the scene of the gap right here. So around 73.88. So if it broke down below today's lows, could start to see itself, kind of working that way. And you can kind of see we had this bump and run situation too. So there's your bump. And on Intel, it didn't quite do it, but this one, it is doing it, right? So here's your run, and then once it breaks down there, you could get a little bit more of a run to the downside here. So it might take a couple days. It might wait till earnings, might push down, and then earnings might give it, another spike back up or something like that. So something to keep an eye on. Heather, JD, yeah, let's take a look. I imagine any Chinese names, off of the kind of the announcement today probably got a spike. So that was a nice move on JD. High here was 32. High today was 31.92. So can't quite adjust the trend line yet. It's still based on this high. So we're still below it, but today, we were still below it. Today it got above it again. So let's see if it can get some continuation, move that up, and at which point we would shift the trend line and the trend would still be continuing up. Again, nice kind of cup and handle pattern here too. Kind of longer term cup, handle, break, right? So that is kind of just a good pattern to always kind of watch for. So, but yeah, strong move today. Let's see if it gets any follow through on that. Jonah, lost you. We're already up. I know, exactly. It's unbelievable. No problem, Nephi. My pleasure. My pleasure, Call Saul. Shirley, how are you? BAC, I didn't get a chance to actually pull up this stock today, but I heard it did well, and a lot of the financial names did too. So that was really pretty big stuff, and I think you had this on your radar as well. So, but yeah, this had a nice kind of gap up, and this is kind of something we might see on Coke, something like that. But really had this kind of this horizontal pattern, right? So gap, horizontal, and then it kind of broke through it today pretty strong. It did close over the upper Bollinger Band, surely, with RSI a little bit overbought, so just be careful for a potential pullback, but it had a super strong move today. Coke we just looked at a little bit earlier. Yeah, let's take a look at BABA. So a lot of these Chinese names, don't get lured into it too much, okay? Because they'll fake you out. Okay, just be careful, right? So the reason was kind of news-based today. So let's see if this pattern kind of holds. Leaves a big gap below. It's at the upper Bollinger Band. Just use caution on BABA because it can jump around, right? And then the slightest thing could bring it back down to the cloud. So just keep an eye on that. So but right now the trend is up, right? And hopefully they don't prove it otherwise. But there it is right there. So see how it holds. RF. Big move today. Nice move. Not as much volume as a couple of days ago, but still a nice move. Inside day up, right? So there's your inside day bar, right? Breaks to the upside and breaks over that fib fan line. So that's looking pretty good. I would expect some consolidation. Look what happened here at this last big green bar too. Kind of pulled back for a couple of days. So just make sure it holds. Kind of holds those levels. JPM, yes, JPM. Yes, very nice move on JPM today. So strong, right? Nice move there. It could get up to this kind of volumetric zone, this 117 level, prior pivot highs. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Very, very similar to Bank of America. AKS, Anacott Steel. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to pop. There we go. Come to life. There we go. Nice highs. Let's get an actual trend line here. It's tough. That's kind of really tight right there. Kind of have to do this. But yeah, trends up until proven otherwise. Again, just be careful over the upper Bollinger Band. Earnings coming up too, so just be careful trading into that. NVIDIA, we just took a look at. So, but yeah, that looks great. MG, no problem. My pleasure. Thank you. Nudie Poo, thank you. Netfry, more and more practice, exactly. And then yeah, my pleasure on the orbs. So they're very, very helpful. And great job too on the work you're doing too. Jonah, yeah, let's take a look at crowd. CRWD. So CRWD had a big day yesterday. It looks like it paused a little bit, tried to break over those highs, and got a little bit weak. Okay, so this is a CrowdStrike. Not really sure what they do. It's kind of a frightening name, isn't it? CrowdStrike. But holdings, oh yeah, cloud. Imagine that. Those endpoint cloud, and their Bitcoin too, or something like that. I'm just kidding. So Falcon, Sandbox, and Hygiene. IT Hygiene. That's fascinating. Okay, so it's kind of doing its thing right here. Big gap up there, big move, very hyperbolic type stuff. So just be careful, guys. Here, right? So it might do prayer kids here. So I just feel like doing the Fibonacci's, right? Yeah. So just maybe a little bit higher, maybe the 1.272 extension it could get to. Maybe just be careful. Look for a breakdown of the trend line, and then if it fails that trend line, to the downside, it's got a big gap below. So, so something to look at there. And then beyond 8 EMA is 179.4 and has been support. Okay, yeah, see 8 EMA. Nice. Yep. And then here you can see too, again, up. Closed above the upper Bollinger Band. You can see here every time it kind of gets above that, it pulls back. Got above it here, pulled back. Got above it here, and kind of pulling back. So, so look for the 8 EMA on that one as potential support. So, Bruce, what's happening? ZM mentioned but not covered. Yep, let's take a look. So ZM, I should hand the mic over to you, Bruce. So this is beyond Zoom has been really amazing, right? So here's the kind of the upper trend line that it's had, from its highs here. So you can see it's been holding this really, really well. And so it recently pulled back to it, which gave a nice long opportunity, and gave a nice inside day, tried to break down and failed to the upside, right? So let's kind of look at the 60-minute chart. So this was yesterday, right? So from from the 19th, right? From Friday, it had an inside 60 bar, right? We gapped above it on Monday, pulled back, tagged that 60 anchor range, and broke up, right? Also give you an inside 60 here and break, try to get out of the cloud. Okay, so then today we gap up, it flushes down, right? Really, really fast move. This thing's a wild mover, right? No doubt. But then it held that level again. It tagged it and then launched back up, inside up. And so right now it just seems to be working on its track to get out of the cloud, right? And so if we can get out of the cloud and give a nice break, then we could see some more upside potential. Maybe start testing like some of these old highs at 100, 101. So that's looking good. Anil, yeah, LLI. Did I get that right? What is it? I. Yeah, it didn't look familiar. What is it? Are you thinking Lily? LLY maybe? I have a bad character. Eli Lilly maybe? Oh, LII. I gotcha. Yeah, this is a Linux International. There you go. Called the Linux guy. All right, so yeah, this is the hourly chart. Just real quick, let's take a look to see kind of down. So a little bit downward trending, a little bit of a kind of a gap down there since. Sorry, I missed that pivot there. But you can see here on the daily, these moves down. Right, so just be careful with this. So this thing has been very, very downtrending. Big gap down from earnings. It did put in a nice reversal candle, so just kind of keep an eye on it, right? So today was a big reversal candle. Might give a little breakout bar, just and then try to start filling the gap. This was downtrending before the gap down, so overall trend is still down, right? So kind of keep this here, activate here, right? So just be careful here with this. I mean, it might try to break out a little bit and then hit this trend line and then continue to work its way down. So that's kind of the dominating trend, right? It makes sense that it continued its path. Then Vive. I'm sure Vive is at some all-time high right now, but let's take a look if this thing will come back alive. Wow, yeah, wow. So this is like Anil, like you mentioned earlier, kind of these pullbacks and these small names, right? So you have this here. I mean, kind of like a little bit of a bump and runish type thing working. So Vive, this is probably like a great buying opportunity, right? Because this thing is just kind of goes up forever. So definitely keep an eye on this. If it does pull back to the cloud, I think it could be especially kind of gets to these levels, to the support level. I think it could see another bounce. Vive is just like such a strong name, right? So no, yeah, you're good, all good. 80 p.m. XLF. Yeah, the whole XLF has been on fire. So big moves today on it, So of course, right after they all reported earnings, most of them were pretty good, I think, except like Wells Fargo, and then they all just kind of went down with the market the other day where it had kind of a dip, and then you can kind of just assume that they're going to work their way back up behind them. Today they just ripped. So big move on that on XLF today. Enjoy Life Apparel, AD&T. Yeah, like this. Here. Nice breakup art, right? So here's your minor pivot right here, and it broke above that today. So it looks like the trend is changed, right, to the upside. And so let's see if it holds that. So yeah, looks like it could continue its way up as the new trend is up. No problem, Jonah. My pleasure. Got it, Anil. Yep, we got that. And then, oh, hey, Sean, how's it going? Yeah, let's take a look at the T chart. Yep. Meant to look at this a little bit earlier, but oh, wow. So, yeah, T has not even had earnings yet. So that was this is kind of your breakdown here. Minor pivot. You can see this upward trend line, right? Up to those highs. Here's your minor pivot low. Once it got below here, hanging man, down, right? So just straight up trend line price action, right? So very, very steep decline right here. It's going into earnings tomorrow before the open. So let's see if this little hammer that held the cloud gives a break to the upside. So very, very interesting to see how this does. If it fails, you got another hanging man right here, and we could see potentially back down to that 30-50 level. So it seems to have held the cloud pretty well today. Let's see if it continues to do that into tomorrow. So that should be pretty interesting. Got it. Yeah, Linux. Got it. Nice. All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. I think we covered some cool stuff. The real thing I want to kind of nail with that is like, hey, it's like, well, if we see a great pattern and it looks perfect and we jump in it and it doesn't work, right? Chances are it's going the other way. That's kind of the theme of the whole thing. So it's something to keep in mind there. If I had to pick top 2 must-use indicators, what would be my top 2? Time and price. I know it's a little obnoxious, but if you had nothing at all, right? You kind of just have to use your candlesticks and use your trend and your patterns, right? That are going. So trend lines I think are the best tool other than using the actual price action itself, like the what the candles are doing and what they're saying. But I know what you're saying. So what can we use other than price and time and trend lines? And so I can pretty much have them up here, right? I do like the Bollinger Band combined with RSI. I think it gives you great signals. It's not always perfect. Obviously here, you closed above the upper Bollinger Band multiple times, but RSI finally peaked out, finally hit like that kind of 100% level, and then you can kind of expect a pullback at that point. So it's rare to see it, up, but when it's up and then you kind of get a little bit of a close below it, sometimes you can catch that move to the downside. So I do like that. It gives you a good perspective. It depends on those time frames. I like the cloud too. The cloud is great. I also like Keltner channels on the weekly. I think that's a fantastic one too. There's all sorts of different stuff you can use to kind of verify what trend you're in, and there's different cool tools that are out there. But every indicator that's out there is based on price and time and volume, right? So volume is also another good indicator as well. So everything is some sort of derivative of that, right? So the true moves, right, comes from the price itself, right? And that's why these trend lines are so valuable, right? So I mean, I've got that 3-minute video on it, but you kind of go here, up, breaks down, minor pivot right here. If it gets below that minor pivot, breaks down right there. Oh well, now the new trend is down, right? So here's your trend line here, minor pivot, right? Breaks above it, breaks up, right? Here's your new trend line up, right? Back up. Right there, breaks down, up, couldn't break down below that level, so it chops around to the side for a little bit. So basically the trend is still up until it puts in a new high. Put in a new high right here, so you can move the trend from here, right to here. Like that, trend is still up, right? Continues. Now we've got the new highs, so there's your new trend line to this pivot right here until it breaks down, right? So the trend is, follow the trend until it changes, right? You can use your candlesticks for indications, right? So, here at an inside bar, it was undecided, broke down, pretty much a good clue that maybe it was going to go down in the future, right? But anyway, we had to wait for the breakout here. Here's your breakout bar right here. Kind of tried to work its way up, finally broke down this trend line right here, and then flushed, right? So just using price alone is really all you need. The indicators themselves just kind of give you like some guides and tools and all that stuff, and other mathematical formulas based on just those 3 things: price, time, and volume, right? So, that's kind of the 1, 2, 3 combo right there. Everything is based on that. So, but sometimes we forget, we lose sight of stuff, and some other indicators can kind of help us be like, oh yeah, I forgot to look at that. Oh yeah, it's coming up to the cloud. Let's look to see if it's ready to break out. That type of stuff. So anyway, yeah, I mean you can kind of trim everything down, right? I mean look, if I remove all indicators, right? I mean studies. Remove all studies, right? I mean. Oh, that's a drawing. That's a Fibonacci drawing. But you can see, I mean, really everything with just price, right? And then, time too, because sometimes things move in waves and move in cycles and all that stuff. So that helps as well. So, but yeah, I mean, really all you need is that, ultimately. But some of the other stuff is kind of helpful too to just kind of keep you focused and just give you context, right? So when you throw your moving averages up there, you can be like, oh, I'm above the 50, so I'm, still bullish, right? And all that stuff. So that can help too. But anyway, enjoy Life My Apparel. My pleasure. Guys, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Anil. My pleasure. And thank you, Sean. Yeah, I totally understand that. And Anil, yeah, everybody's good. So, again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're new here, definitely subscribe on YouTube. Really appreciate it. And then if you don't know us on Twitter, check us out on Twitter. The links are in the description. If you really like us, check us out at positive-trends.com. You can see the way I trade during the day and get lots of educational stuff intraday too. So really appreciate it, guys. Have a great night. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.